Very good morning to you all. Welcome back to the online sessions on MCC. Now here in the previous sessions, we were discussing about how do we normally improve the quality of the service to the user in terms of providing the network connection for the user. Now in the cellular mobile communications, what is that which is so important always for us? You should keep this in the mind, this mobile cellular architecture, this mobile cellular structure basically. So the structure of mobile cellular system is going to be this one. So this particular structure you have to compulsorily keep it in mind, which is normally going to explain two important things. What are the two things it is going to importantly going to explain? That it is going to use the frequency reuse, and it is normally going to support the handoff process if you normally going to arrange your basic cells in this particular fashion. Okay, so this particular basic diagram is very, very crucial. Always, we all have to keep this in our mind before we think about anything regarding the cellular mobile communications. So always this picture should be there in our brain. We should have a something like, we should have a blueprint in our mind. So this has to be imprinted in our mind whenever we normally going to deal with the whenever we normally deal with the processes which is normally involved in the cellular mobile communications. So this particular structure should be there in the mind always. You should have a copy. You should have a Xerox copy of this particular structure. So please keep this particular structure in the mind before we normally discuss anything else. Why? Because whatever we discuss, it purely depends on this particular cellular structure. So therefore, the cellular structure is very, very essential and crucial. So in case in the exam, if it all is asking about handoff process or frequency reuse or say clusters, what is cluster? You can draw the same diagram to explain these three different kinds of the techniques which are involved in communicating to the mobile users. Okay, so therefore this particular structure is very, very important for us, and we are discussing about the grade of service in this process. So many process, all the process will be simply revolving around this particular structure only. Therefore this structure is simply going to be the basic structure or the important structure for us to remember always in our mind. Okay, so it should be something like a question which should go in the remembrance level. You should remember this particular structure in your mind. If you don't remember this structure, we really cannot really appreciate or really cannot understand what is really going on in the mobile communication systems. So therefore, please keep this particular structure in the mind, which is known as a cellular mobile structure for us. And if in the exam he'll ask you a question on cellular mobile architecture, then you should compulsorily extend this with a MSCs, PSTN on the one side, and other side also you can simply extend that this PSTN is connected to the MSC. MSC is once again connected to this kind of a cluster in the other side. So like this, you have to explain the cellular mobile architecture. So this structure, this is known as the structure of the cellular mobile system. So therefore, this structure you have to compulsorily keep it in mind. This is the basic structure for the entire cellular mobile communications. Okay. So and we are discussing about basically the grade of service. So what is basically grade of service? Grade of service is normally going to is nothing but the measure of ability of the user to have a connection or to have a communication in the base hours, in the basic hours. So that is what the basic quality of service that will be given to the user for. That means whenever user want to connect, what is the amount of probability of connecting, or what is the chance of connecting the user to the mobile system, is what the basically quality of service. So here quality of service purely depends on basically two things. The connection has to be provided compulsorily to the user, and also the connection has to be established until the user completes his call. So these two are the important bottlenecks of performance in the cellular mobile communications, obviously for us. So these two are always going to be the challenges in the cellular mobile systems. So let us move on to the point of discussion that we are discussing about. So in the previous classes, we discussed about cellular reuse, finding out the nearest co-channel neighbor of the cellular structure, and handoff strategies. So we have handoff process. what is handoff and all we discussed. And in this, we have various priorities involved in the handoff process, like priority handoff strategy, non-priority handoff strategy. So like that we discussed in the earlier classes, and we are now in the part of looking into the trunking and grade of service. So trunking, as I was talking to you, trunking, whenever trunking comes into picture, please keep in mind about the, what is that multiplexer I was talking to you. So multiplexer is nothing but what? Many input channels will be simply shared by a limited number of resources. So imagine that there is a road which is going to connect a tunnel. Now let us suppose the road is going to be, say, something like 8-lane road. So all this 8-lane road is simply connected to a, say, a 4-line tunnel. So in that particular case, how we normally going to make them out? You simply going to use a truncated channel or a truncated tunnel. So in along this truncated tunnel, all these vehicles has to move, which are coming from various roads, various channels. So that is what simply a trunking process. Similar kind of a trunking is normally employed in the communications also. So that means what here, using trunking, what is that we're doing? We're simply allowing a large number of users to share a relatively small number of channels in a cell. So the channels in a cell cannot be increased whenever we want in comparison with the number of users which are using those channels. So in that process, to improve the quality of service or to provide some grade of service to the user, you have to employ this trunking method. Using this method, we try to provide a very good grade of service to the user. Okay, so this is what we are discussing. So grade of service is basically a measure of the ability of a user to access the truncated system during the basic hours. Is basically known as the grade of service. So this definition is very important. Many times this definition has been asked. Definition of trunking is important, and definition for grade of service is also important. Here definitions like what is define the handoff process is the definition you have to write. Define frequency reuse, you have to write the definition for that. Then define trunking strategy, you should write a definition for that. Define grade of service, you should be in a position to define that. You should be in a position to define that, you should be in a position to describe that, and you should be in a position to explain that also. So it is going to be the higher level of questions. Define is for 2 marks, describe is for 5 to 6 marks, explain is for 10 marks. So therefore, you should simply extend your ideology, okay, towards these definitions in terms of providing a very good service to the user. So therefore, you should have a information to write from a basic level to a high level questions. So therefore, all these processes you should compulsorily know in order to write very well in the exam. So it is purely a theory supported by the following diagrams. So you should compulsorily write the theory with the following diagrams. If diagrams are not there, the examiner don't understand that what you are really exactly writing. If diagram is there, the examiner simply understands what the concept that you actually understood and what you really know in the subject. So therefore, diagrams are very, very crucial. So please go with the diagrams. So whenever you write some theory in this particular subject, you have to compulsorily draw the appropriate diagrams while explaining the theory in the examination paper. So therefore, that's very, very important for us. Well, so we discussed about various trunking theory definitions to provide a very good grade of service by using the trunking methodology, like setup time, blocked call, holding time, request rate, traffic intensity, load, the unit called Erlong. So which defines the channel kept busy for 1 hour is defined as having a load of 1 Erlong. So Erlong normally depends upon the channel capacity, how busy the channel is. It speaks about how busy the channel is for 1 hour. So that is what called Erlong basically. And we have computed some small definitions for this and formulas for this. Okay. So, and we are discussing about an important concept now called improving the coverage and capacity in the cellular system. So here, what is the main performance bottleneck of a cellular system? As we are discussing in the previous sessions and even now also, that the number of channels provided in a cell are not increasing in comparison with the number of in comparison with the number of users, in comparison with the number of users which are there in the network. Well, finally, what we can say is that as the demand for the service increases, the system designers have to provide more number of channels per unit coverage area. So here the problem still remains. What is that problem? We have a limited resources. The main problem of cellular mobile communications are going to be the limitation in the resources. It is going to have the bandwidth limitations, it is going to have the channel limitations, but at the same time, it has to provide service to more number of users. So that means it has to provide more number of services to the mobile stations or mobile units. So that is what always going to be the challenging task in the case of the cellular mobile communications. So here, that's the reason why we have to go with the different types of the cellular design techniques are needed to provide the more number of channels. So here, in order to improve the coverage and capacity in the cellular systems, we normally employ four different techniques, which are known as the cellular design techniques: cell splitting, sectoring, microcell zone, and repeaters. So these four are the important techniques which we normally going to write a short notes. Now this question has been asked many times. So in this, two questions have been asked for 6 plus 6, 12 marks. Okay, and all these questions have been asked for 15 marks once. So therefore you should be in a position to elaborate this, okay, at a length, at a stretch, in order to get some marks in the examination. So while writing this also, you have to support your explanations with the appropriate diagrams in the concepts. Now, so here always we're going to have a demand for providing more number of services to the users. So in order to provide more number of services to the users, we employ different cellular design techniques such as cell splitting, sectoring, microcell zone, and repeaters. Well, so cell splitting, what is cell splitting we have? So that means cell splitting is something like we normally going to split the number of cells in a base in a basic cell. Okay, that means now in doing so, what is that which is going to happen? The cell splitting is normally increase the number of base stations and allows orderly growth of the cellular system. So number of cells we normally going to increase with some strategy. That's called cell splitting. Sectoring means what? So now even though we normally provide this cell splitting at a particular in a particular directions or at a particular locations, we are not going to get the appropriate signals. So in that case, in that particular places, we can normally employ the sectoring concept. So in this sectoring concept, we normally uses different directional antennas to provide services to the remote areas, remote places. So that means what? To further control the interference and frequency reuse also, we normally going to provide the sectoring kind of a concept. Then next one is going to be the microcell and uh, repeaters. So microcell is nothing but zoning distributes coverage of cell and extends the cell boundary to hard to reach places. So that means what is something like an umbrella cell concept. So same kind of a cell, umbrella cell is going to be the basic cell or a parent cell. In this parent cell, we normally going to have many child cells. Now the child cell is always going to be same as the base cell with simply the reduced number of the channels allocated to each and every cell in the case of the microcell type of the concept. So in the cellular splitting, what we discussed here is we always going to split the cell with reference to a basic cell. Say this particular middle cell you are seeing it here with radius r. Imagine that it is going to be the basic cell for us. Now here with respect to the radius of this basic cell, we normally going to construct three more subcells. So which are based on this particular cell. So that means these cells are normally formed with respect to edges on these particular cells. So three cells are formed here with a radius r by 2. Now you can still extend this to its subcells. Subcells can have another subcell. That means nesting of cells is also going to get provided in the case of the cell splitting. Now inside this R by 2, this is R by 2 cell. This small one inside this big one, big R is going to be R by 2 cell. So the radius of these cells, all these three cells are going to be R by 2. So inside this R by 2 cell, you can have subcells with a radius R by 4. Inside that, if still coverage is not really sufficient enough, you can provide more coverage by constructing a few more cells with a R by 8, with R by 8 radius. So like that, we can just simply extend the number of cells which normally going to provide more number of coverage, more amount of coverage to the mobile users. So that means here, what is the problem with this? The problem is that it reduces the cell blocking probability in an area. So that means it is going to be an advantage, sorry, rather. So the cell splitting reduces the cell blocking probability because more number of base stations are available to really manage with the mobile users which are nearby. So therefore, it is normally going to reduce the cell blocking probability in the area. It also increases the frequency with which mobile handoffs from cell to cell. So frequency, that is handoff process, can also be really improved in this case of the cell splitting concept. Okay. So this is what we discussed, and next concept is going to be the sectoring concept. So what is this sectoring concept here? As I was talking to you, like here in the sectoring concept, we normally provide several directional antennas, each radiating within a specified sector. So that's why the concept called as sector. Here we normally going to construct different substations, sub-base stations with several directional antennas, each radiating with a specified sector. That means every antenna in this particular sector is normally going to radiate in a particular sector. Okay, thereby providing the more amount of coverage to the end user. So here the co-channel interference may be decreased by replacing a single omnidirectional antenna by several directional antennas, each radiating within a specified sector. So here, before this, we used to have a basic cellular structure where every mobile station, every base station is normally going to radiate the signal in all the directions. Therefore, we call that antenna in a base station is going to be omnidirectional antenna. So omnidirectional antenna is an antenna which is normally going to radiate, which is normally going to cover almost all directions in the spatial domain. So what is the problem here? At some locations, the signal is not going to reach. In that particular places, we normally employ the sectoring kind of a concept, where the co-channel interference is also going to be a problem while we use a base station, simple base stations or a basic base station units. So here this co-channel interference may be decreased by replacing a single omnidirectional antenna by several directional antennas. So here what happens is, here in the case of spell splitting, you're going to have a base station, and with reference to base station, we normally going to subdivide the base station into many other sub base stations. Whereas in the case of sectoring here, a single antenna is replaced by multiple antennas which are directed in a particular direction, in a particular direction. That is what basically sectoring here. So is another kind of a architecture, another kind of a cellular architecture to provide the very good grade of service to the users, to the mobile users. So we already discussed in the antennas and wave propagation, the directional antenna is always going to transmit and receive only a fraction of the total number of co-channel cells. That means it is normally going to radiate signal in a particular direction. It is normally going to receive signal from a particular direction. Okay. So this is what basically there in the case of the directional type of the antennas. Okay. Yagi-Uda antenna. Yagi-Uda antenna is basically a directional antenna which is always going to radiate signal in a particular direction, and it is going to receive always signals from a particular direction. In the olden days, before these dish antennas are available, we used to have a Yagi-Uda antennas. So that we'll discuss in antenna arrays. So then that antenna is normally going to radiate signal and receive signal in a particular direction. Therefore, it comes under a directional type of the antennas. So this directional antennas transmits to and receives from only a fraction of total number of co-channel cells. Because it is directional antenna, it will be radiating and receiving signals only in a particular direction, not in all the directions. So what is the greatest advantage of having a directional antenna? It simply avoids the co-channel interference. Thereby, co-channel interference is simply reduced. So in this type of direction antenna, because the antenna signal is always radiated in a particular direction. So all antennas are radiating in a particular direction, thus avoiding the co-channel interference to the maximum possible extent. Now, how can we normally going to perform this particular task? See here, this is a normal cell. Normal cell is normally going to radiate the signal in all the directions, which is going to be a omnidirectional antenna. Okay, which is always placed at the center of the cell. So what is the problem with this? This omnidirectional antenna is not going to really radiate signals in all the directions at a maximum strength, at a maximum strength. So to avoid this problem, we are simply coming across with a sector antennas. So we are introducing the concept called sectoring here. In this sectoring, what we can have is now this single hexagon, we are simply dividing into three subsectors, where each sector is going to cover 120 degrees of radius, something like polar satellites. So we normally going to have a polar satellites concept in a satellite communications, where these polar satellites are normally going to radiate signals at 120 degrees radius. So in doing so, if you normally going to use three satellites in sync with each other, then these three satellites are normally going to cover all the 360 degrees of the earth. 120 into 3 is going to be what? 360 degrees. So it's simply covering the 360 degrees of the earth while taking the pictures of the earth. So basically it is normally used for communication satellite purpose. Okay, so that's called polar satellites. Same concept is normally incorporated in the cellular mobile communication even now. So here, this particular cell area is divided into three sub areas, where each area is simply going to cover 120 degrees. Say this cell A is now covering 120 degrees, cell C is covering 120 degrees, cell B is also covering 120 degrees. Now another kind of a structure we can form here. This is cell A is covering 120 degrees, cell C is covering 120, and cell B is also covering 120 degrees. That means the given hexagon is simply converted into three sectors which covers 120 degrees radius. So already you have a protractor with you. Please take protractors to the examination hall, and using the protractors you can normally going to figure out the angle between the two sectors. Now this is one sector, this is another sector. Angle between these two sectors you have to keep 120 degrees. Like that, just take a protractor of 360 degrees and just simply cover 360 degrees here, 120, 120 each. Thereby you normally going to get all the sectors, and simply join all the points to cover all those things. Thereby we can simply draw this particular 120 degrees sectors, three 120 degree sectors. So that is what we can have it here in the cellular architecture. And next one is, rather you can form four 90-degree sectors. So 90 into 4 is going to be once again 360 for us. So therefore we can form 90-degree sector. The angle between these two sectors for A is going to be 90, for B 90, for C 90, say for D 90. So like this you can simply have a four 90-degree sectors. Now all these antennas, that means this is one sector A. At the center of sector A, we normally going to have an antenna which, now this antenna is normally going to cover all these four 90-degree sectors are normally going to cover. That means this single antenna at this particular place, we normally going to place four different antennas. All these four different directional antennas are going to place it such that it covers a 90-degree sector here. Okay, here we place a base station. This base station is going to cover the three 120-degree sectors. Here this base station is going to cover the 490-degree sector. Similarly, we normally going to place an antenna at a center of the hexagon, okay, or center of the cell, where six directional antennas can be placed here, which each covers 60 degrees sectors. So this A is 60, B is 60, C is 60, D, E, F all going to be 60 degrees sectors. Thereby 60 into 6 is going to be 360 degrees. So it is going to cover all the 360 degrees coverage, thereby provides more amount of coverage area for the mobile communications. So this is what sectoring method, very important method for us. The next method is going to be called as a, now what are the problems in sectoring? So obviously everywhere you're going to have an advantage, you're going to have a disadvantage. What is the advantage? It simply avoids the inter-channel interference definitely, because we are using a directional type of the antennas. So at the same time, what are the problems or disadvantages in this type of system? So here at a single base station, more number of antennas are being used. So more number of antennas means what? Definitely you have to maintain all these antennas appropriately. So therefore the maintenance cost, then the cost of the antenna is simply going to increase. So next one is decreasing the trunking efficiency due to sectoring. So trunking efficiency, what is trunking efficiency? Trunking means what? Sharing of resources. So here the resources we are increasing. So trunking process is simply getting violated here. So therefore obviously trunking efficiency is reduced. The next one is increased number of handoffs. So here we are moving from one zone, one sector to another zone. The mobile unit will moving from one sector to another sector. Thereby the handoff process is normally going to increase on the base station. So these are some of the drawbacks which are not going to be that problematic here as far as the providing the service to the user is concerned. The next one is micro cell zone concept. So in the previous class we discussed about umbrella cell. Under the umbrella cell we normally going to have many other subcells. So that kind of a concept over here. Now we are normally going to have a base station here in the micro cells, and we normally going to provide the same kind of a cells over here. Say this is cell A, B and C, which is normally going to cover various distances here, forming a micro cell zone. So here a given cell is simply subdivided into micro cells. That means an umbrella cell is divided into microcells. So each microcell zone is connected to the same base station using the fiber or the microcell links. So each zone uses a directional antenna. As mobile travels from one zone to another zone, it retains the same channel. Now what is the greatness of this thing is that handoff is simply reduced here, avoided here in this kind of a microcell zone, because all these microcells are the cells coming from the umbrella cell, main cell. So therefore the channels given by the main cell is being used by the umbrella cells. Therefore handoff process is simply reduced here, avoided here in this case of the microcell type of the things over here. So what are the advantages of this type of a microcell things now? The advantage is that since they are connected to the same original base station, and directional antenna is put at each zone, which helps to decide base station is to use only zone 1, 2 or 3. That means here the identification of a mobile user is going to be very easy in this particular microcell zone. And next one is handoff process simply reduced here, avoided here in the case of the microcell zone. So therefore the advantage is simply like co-channel interference is always reduced, because microcells are going to look after only about their regional small regional areas. Thereby the co-channel interference is also reduced, because the central base station is replaced by several low power transmitters on the edges of the cells. So that's what decreased co-channel interference definitely going to improve the quality of the service and capacity of the network. The next one is repeaters. Repeaters means what? Something like which normally repeaters is normally going to increase the strength of the signal, and that means amplify the strength of the signal. It is normally going to radiate in appropriate directions suitably. That is called repeaters basically. So repeaters are used for hard to reach areas such as within the buildings, within the tunnel areas, within the tunnels, and within the valleys. There are going to be big valleys. Okay, so within the big valleys signals cannot be reached. There are normally going to provide the repeaters, and basements, underground basements. So like this all these areas is normally going to get covered if you use the repeaters over there. So they are radio transmitters, and the radio receivers can be used to provide coverage in these. Repeaters are normally going to radio transmitters, and radio receivers normally used to provide coverage in the hard to reach areas. Okay, it is something like a transmitter as well as receiver. So we use in the repeaters we use a transmitter and receiver, which is normally going to provide a very good coverage area in the hard to reach areas, such as coal mines, such as valleys, okay, such as tunnels, okay, such as buildings. So all these places we normally going to use the repeaters to increase the quality of service. So repeaters are normally going to use the bidirectional antennas, obviously. So to receive signals from the base station, amplifies the signals, and re-radiates the amplified signals to the unreached areas. So these are the advantages of the repeaters. Now, what are the drawback of repeaters? Obviously, repeaters are normally going to receive noise and interference. So, and that interference and noise is also going to get amplified and re-radiated. So, this is what the one and only problem which we normally going to come across in the repeaters. Okay. So, with this, we stop today our session of the MCC. Now, with this, we have completed unit number 1. Okay, which covers all the basic fundamentals of the mobile communication systems. Thank you very much for the today's session.